All right, in this video we're going to be doing some algebraic manipulation. Now manipulation means in math to rearrange things, okay? So if I were to manipulate this, for instance, 4 equals 1 plus 3, I could manipulate it by saying 4 equals 3 plus 1. So I'm just rearranging stuff. Algebraic means that we're dealing with algebra, which means we're dealing with variables. So if I said 4 equals x plus 1, then I could algebraically manipulate this to solve for x. So I would subtract 1 from both sides, and I would get 3 equals x, or x equals 3. So I just manipulated what was going on here, rearranged stuff algebraically because we were using variables. So we're going to do that when it comes to the context of our slope-intercept equation for lines. So our slope-intercept equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is our y-intercept. Okay? So if we are given something that is already in y equals mx plus b form, it's very easy to see what the slope is and very easy to see what the y-intercept is. Here, this line has a slope of 3 and it has a y-intercept of 4. So it is very apparent what the slope is and what the y-intercept is when it's in slope-intercept form. That's why we call it slope-intercept form. It needs to be y equals slope times x plus the y-intercept to be in slope-intercept form. If there's anything different about that, it is not considered to be in slope-intercept form. So our challenge is to get equations that are not in slope-intercept form into slope-intercept form. So let's say that we had 3y equals 12x plus 15. This is an equation. It's a linear equation even, but it is not a linear equation that is in our y equals mx plus b form. This is not in slope-intercept form. It's not currently in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. It's not 3y equals mx plus b. So this needs to be taken care of because it just needs to be y by itself. It can only be y by itself. If there's anything here other than y, it is not in this strict form. So what we're going to have to do is get y by itself. The way that we get y by itself is because 3 is being multiplied against y, we undo multiplication with division. So we divide everything, because what I do to one side I have to do to everything on the other side. I divide everything by 3. So these now cancel out, and I have y equals 12 thirds x plus 15 thirds, okay? Now do you see that 3 goes into 12 4 times? So I can simplify this. Y equals 4x, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So this is our slope-intercept form. This was another equation that equals this equation, but this equation was not in slope-intercept form. This is in slope-intercept form. Why do we care whether an equation is or is not in slope-intercept form? Remember, when an equation is in slope-intercept form, the slope and the intercept are very apparent. So here, do you see that the slope is 4 and the y-intercept is 5? It's very apparent by looking at this. And so the true slope of this equation is 4 and the true y-intercept is 5. If you were to look at this original equation and I asked you, what is the slope And what is the y-intercept? It's not readily clear. You can't say that this is the slope right here. This is not the slope. I know it might be tempting to think that this is what the slope is, but this is only the slope if it's in y equals mx plus b form. Since this is not in y equals mx plus b form, this is not the actual slope. I have to divide everything by 3, and then I can see the true slope. This is not the y-intercept. This is the y-intercept, because this is just a number that is in a non-y-intercept equation. So these numbers cannot be trusted until it's in y equals mx plus b form, okay? Let's do one more manipulation. Let's say that we have 4y equals 8x plus, let's say, 24, okay? How are we going to manipulate this so that this equation, which is not in slope-intercept form, it's not in slope-intercept form, how do we get it into slope-intercept form? We divide everything by 4. So we get y equals 4 goes into 8 twice, 4 goes into 24 6 times. So now that we see this is in correct intercept form, slope-intercept form, the slope is 2, and the y-intercept is 6.